Welcome back, everyone, to the Prospera version of Doing It Raw Relationship Goals. Now,
Yeah.
if you're coming back here from technically our season finale of our regular podcast, that will not be the season finale of the Prospera show because this is the fifth, maybe sixth. I don't even
Yeah,
remember.
these are gonna keep
They're
going,
gonna
you guys.
continue.
So
Yeah.
don't worry, we're not leaving you.
So yeah. So for those who are sad that our regular podcast is not going to go on a weekly basis for a period of time, don't fret. Just come back to Prospera TV Network and you'll get some more dose of Doing It Raw relationship goals.
Yeah, and we ended that podcast really good.
Yep.
I think like these last 3 or 4 episodes of it, they're just fire.
Yeah. I
Like
think that
kids say
that
now.
it encompassed everything that what the basically the I guess the first step, for the lack of a better term, that it takes for your relationship to improve, which is start with bettering you.
Yeah.
And the best way that you can start bettering you is by learning to love you.
Yeah. And the best person that can teach you how to love yourself is the queen of self-love, self-care, Allegra Pacheco. Welcome.
Welcome into the Prospera
Thank
version
you.
of our show.
And
Thank you so
I
much.
mean, I don't know. I know it's already announced, but she's going to have her own show pretty soon.
Yeah, look at that.
Yes.
And
Yes,
I
I'm
am
so
so
excited.
excited. Yeah, like I have no idea. Like I literally prayed, and then I even asked Elena, and I was like, Elena, and she's like, yeah, like I'm talking to her, and I was like, you are. Well, then when she said it, I was like, oh, thank you, God. Thank you, God. We need her. So we're
Thank
so excited
you.
to have you, and I mean, our conversation was just amazing. And I love how you're just so vulnerable, you're just so open, and you say things with like so much kindness that even if you said something that triggers people, I'm like, I think like they won't even like it won't even sound bad. Because it's like, man, like I can take it. Like she's just like so loving. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm excited
Thank
for her.
you.
It's like getting punched with a plushie of a huge bunny, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe she
That's what-
needs to teach me how to do that.
That's what came to mind. What, punch with a plushie?
Because I could be a little bit mean, so
You throw jabs.
I
to the-
throw
to the throat.
jabs. Yeah, I'm like, oh, sorry. But no, thank you for coming in. Thank you for spending some time with us. And we ended that podcast. We talked about loving yourself, being able to love you so you can love others. We talked about so much,
Yes.
but this portion of the show, I wanted to ask you some questions, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Because in the podcast you did mention about being in toxic relationships,
Right.
and I know, like, when we met or when we saw each other in May at Surrender to Rise, and you gave, you spoke, you did talk about one very toxic one. And if like you can give us just a little bit like a summary of that one, so that anybody that didn't hear you can have like a little background, because I have like a question about it.
Sure. Yeah. So, like, the situation, and this goes back to the lack of self-love. Like, I entered the relationship because I had a life-changing event occur. Like I mentioned, I've always been a single mom. So before I entered this relationship, my daughter was actually graduating and moving away to college, and that it had been her and I my whole life. So all of a sudden it's just me, right? And here I go, oh my gosh, I can't be alone, just me. So I have to go find a relationship. So I literally, started dating someone that I met, and I feel like at that point I was definitely like not who I was right now. So there were many things that like happened early in the relationship, right? Like for me, that wasn't a move of like I met this person and like he's really cool and I can't wait to go to the movies and hang out at a concert with him. He's amazing. No, it wasn't like that. It was like, oh my gosh, I have to, you know, find somebody because in about 4 months, I'm about to be alone. Like I've never been alone my whole life. I've always had my little girl with me, right? So that was terrifying to me. So I feel like once again, I found myself trying to not address my hurt of my daughter leaving and like this life-changing event, but rather jumping into a relationship. So I did that. And I was in the relationship for like 5 years. And on the previous, what we talked about earlier, one of the things that I wanted to mention that has hit so powerful for me is that, you know, when we go on a plane and we're told that our thing is we have to put our oxygen mask on first and then put our loved ones' oxygen masks on first. Well, for me, I found myself in a situation that I had been putting on people's oxygen masks for years, and I had no clue until this toxic relationship. I was the saver. I was the hero. I was the one that if you have a problem, I'm going to help you fix it. We're going to get your life together. I don't care if it destroys me. I don't care if I have an oxygen mask because I'm here to fix you. I'm here to make you my partner for life, right? That was my vision. That was how I saw life back then. A very different way than what I see right now, because now I'm more grounded. Like now I see things, right? And I feel like when we enter a toxic relationship, there are so many red flags that because we're in survival mode and we're seeking for fulfillment outside of ourselves, we look the other way when we see red flags. And I found myself doing that for 5 years. And it was like, you know, looking back early on in the relationship, there were several things that were like, I wouldn't even put up with that for 20 seconds right now. But yet back then, I didn't have high standards for myself. I didn't have self-respect for myself. So I allowed behaviors that were toxic, that had red flags, like continue because I was just happy that I had a body next to me and that I didn't have to be alone because, oh my gosh, I was terrified to be alone. Does that mean that I have to wake up alone and watch TV alone and do my laundry alone? Like that to me was like the whole focus, right? So I feel that I became so fearful. And then here I find myself, right? Like I'm already in my, you know, at this point, I'm already in my 40s. So people around me are married, they're settled down, and I have all these relationships that haven't worked. And every time I go around my family, like my extended family, gosh, are they going to say, who's she bringing this time? So there was a lot of shame and a lot of like, I literally told myself that I don't care how I make this work, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to do everything that I have to do to make it work. And what I wasn't realizing at the time is that it takes two people to make something work. You cannot do anything on your own. You cannot, it doesn't matter how much you give, how much you overcompensate. If you do not have another person that is into it, it's not going to work. And I didn't know that. So, you know, like for 5 years, there were things that were not acceptable to me, you know, like the fact that, and you said this earlier, Bri, that was my mindset exactly. Like, and I know it's not the same situation, but my mindset was, oh, it's okay if he keeps on losing his job for 4 years now because I can support us. I can work 5 jobs. And that's where I found myself, right? Like I found myself working to try to overcompensate for the lack of what somebody actually was. And, you know, these weren't things that were like little things. We're talking about you are cutting into my finances and I am currently going into debt. That's a big thing because I've taken care of myself. So when my finances started getting messed with, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is new for me, right? Like I started getting scared because, I mean, for 2 years, that's okay. 3 years, okay, 4 years, I mean, come on, let's get it together now,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
at 4 years, we're already angry. I'm already upset. I'm already angry, but that's 4 years later, right? And that's what I'm saying is that, like, I feel that because of what I've been through, I can give so much insight to women that are currently in those situations, like big major things like that. When someone cannot even support themselves, and that's what I'm talking about when it comes to self-love. If I can't support myself, but I expect you to support me, I'm wrong, because I got to start, like, taking care of myself. And I'm all about teamwork, but when it's an overcompensation of one person and the other person. So for me, it was like years of stuff like that, years of red flags that I would never put up with today. It's like, today I have higher standards. If you don't have a job and you can't support yourself, you're not welcome in my life, because I have a job and I can support myself. And I'm not willing to put on someone else's oxygen mask for them, because I have my own finances to take care of, right?
Mhm.
And that's why, like, there were several things like that, right? Several things, several behaviors that
Yeah.
I just kind of like looked the other way, because I didn't care what it took. I'm going to make this relationship work. So, as I started going to therapy and started speaking to my therapist, and I started to grow, change, and evolve as a person, of course, I tried to ask this person that was my roommate at the point, because that's what we were. When I look back, it was like roommate situation. It was convenient for him to live there. And when I look back at that, it's like, there were so many things that, like, and as I was saying, like, going back to the things that we allow for others to do, to us. And I had made it up in my mind that I'm not going to my next Thanksgiving dinner with another boyfriend. So I don't know what I have to do, but I'm going to
Make
do
it work.
this,
Yeah.
right? And, then it started with, mood swings. And, like, all of a sudden, before I knew it, 4 years driving down the road, I'm being yelled to at the top of a grown man's lungs, with someone with their finger in my face, calling me all of these names. And I'm like, at that point, you start to ask yourself, right? Is this really worth it? Because I'm not having fun in life right now. When you go to that point, it's almost like you have to ask yourself, what am I doing here? So not only do you have someone that isn't willing to help out, you're having to carry, but now you're also being treated like shit. But you told yourself that it doesn't matter what, you're going to make this relationship work. And I feel like because of that experience, I really don't, like, have an opinion about what people think about my relationship status, because I cared for too many years. And that's what kept me in toxic situations. So, like, in that toxic situation, it just got worse and worse. And as I grew and as I changed and I started to respect myself, I started to set boundaries within that relationship. And those boundaries were met with a lot of resistance, a lot of anger, a lot of resistance. But I mean, there were times that, things were happening. Like, I'd say, can you please go to the store and get a loaf of bread? And all of a sudden I had $113 charge on my card for gas. And I'm like, I didn't tell you to go get gas for your own vehicle, but okay. You know what I mean? So little things like that you start to overlook. And,
Yeah. Yeah. I
for
mean,
me,
like if I can just say this, like we always like we tell everybody a relationship is both of you working together.
Mhm.
When it's just one person doing all the work, extra overtime, like you said, like just working extra, that is no longer a relationship. Like, that is no longer you two working together. That is like you literally trying to pull someone to, like, even just survive, right? And if we go back to the self-love, like, if that person doesn't even love themselves, like, they're trying to now bring you down with them. And that
Exactly.
is like a moment of like, it's no longer just a red flag. It's like, this is like life or death situation where you're like, you're pulling me down and we're both gonna end up like dying at some point from something like depression or all of these mental health illnesses out there that happen because somebody doesn't love themselves enough to like want to be better. And then now they're bringing that other person that they're building a life with down with them. And that's
You
where
are
we're like,
so,
no, like you have to cut that because it
so
doesn't
much.
work. It doesn't work. Like we believe that a relationship is teamwork. And both of
Really.
us, like every situation is different. And my husband works and I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I still pull my weight, like
Yes.
I cook all the meals. I do everything for the home. I make sure that our home is safe, a home stable, a warm, cozy place for our children, for my husband to like. He doesn't come home and like it's a total chaos of like, in a sense of like he now has me yelling at him or like there's nothing for him to eat because he's like stuff like that. It's like
Yes.
we work together. We talked about it. Hey, listen, this is what I'll take care of, and this is what you'll take care of. But just imagine that at some point he's like, I'm no longer going to take care of what I'm taking care of, and it's all you.
Yeah.
Like, how is
Yeah.
that even going to work? Like, there's no way. Like, why would you just like have somebody else just there? Like,
Yes.
so what you're saying is like, it's crazy because a lot of relationships are like that. And
Yes.
we're not against separation. We're against separation when it comes to things that we know that can be worked on and people are willing, like
Yes.
themselves willing to work on it. If they're not, like nobody can force you. Like you have to be the one to want to. You know what I
Totally.
mean?
And
Oh, go
yes.
ahead.
And I feel like you touched on a really good point about like when who you're with, who you surround yourself with can totally tank you. Like it could totally just take you out. And that was what I experienced because not only can you never catch up, you can't catch up in a situation like that. There's no way that you could overdo it, that you could try to bring in all the money. Like you need help. You know what I mean? You need that extra person to be helping you. And for me, when I realized the power in, so my breakup was a breakup that was pretty harsh to say the least. Like as I started setting my boundaries and as I started not accepting previous behaviors that once were acceptable, we started to fight a lot, right? We started to get into constant fights and it was like, no, I'm not lending you money for that. No, I'm not doing that. No, you're not going to do this. No, you're not taking my tool set. No, you're not going to take my drill for work. Like it was just, certain things that like, it was hard to do. It was hard to set those boundaries because I remember, and this is another thing going back to conditioning and programming. I remember when I was younger, a cousin told me, oh my gosh, you're getting close to 40. You know what? You really need to start getting on a dating app because men are slim out there and you better get you one like before you get ugly and stuff like that. And to me, that's not my truth. Like, I know that there are plenty of conscious men out there that would be happy to have a relationship. And I'm not in a rush anymore. Like, I am not in a rush as far as that's concerned. But my mindset has changed since then. And that's why I say, like, I tried so hard. And during that relationship, there were also times that there was physical abuse. And I thought, I've always been tough. Like, that didn't hurt. Is that all you got? You know what I'm saying? Like, I grew up with my brother and I grew up in a business that's like a male dominated industry. So yes, I'm in my feminine area. I'm absolutely loving being a girly girl because I couldn't be that most of my life with the industry that I worked in. But because I was raised tough and because I am tough, in my mind, I justified that a man putting his hands on me was acceptable. But today, if you ask me if that's acceptable, I would tell you, fuck no. Do not ever let anyone touch you, because you are not about that, right? So that's a big message that I want to get out there, is that when we're in an abusive situation, we will justify it. We will make excuses. We will say, oh, yes, but I upset him. Oh, yes, but I shouldn't have done that. At the end of the day, there should be no physical contact, because that's not respect. And
Yeah.
that is huge. So, like, my relationship got physically abusive. And at one point, I was sick and tired of taking it. Like, I had already separated myself about a year before we separated, before we broke up. I started making my own plans. Like, I started living my own life. So I was in a relationship in a home with my roommate, but I had already started living my life. I had already started learning about me and going to therapy. And I asked him, would you like to go to couples therapy? And he's like, I can't afford it. Would you like to go to therapy? They have free therapy. Went to one session and didn't go back. So the big message is, like, you need a partner. You don't need someone that you're going to have to pull with you, because you will sink and you will drown, I promise. So for me, I reached a point that I had it. I was tired of the disrespect. I was tired of the physical abuse. I knew that I deserved better than that. And I was like, it came to a point that it was one morning I got up and I remembered that, we were fine. And then we got into a fight, and I knew that this time it was going to get physical again. And I was like, I'm ready this time though, because this time when it gets physical, I'm done. I knew I was done. The morning that I woke up, I was done with it. And I think that you reach that point, like, as a person, as a soul, as a human being, there's only so much that you can take before you crush, before you crack, before you strike back. And for me, I was just done. Like, we got into an argument. I got thrown out of my house. I got arrested. I don't have any charges against me, but it was a case of, like, he didn't have any marks, and he had marks and I didn't have any marks from my nails. And it was like a situation of reactive abuse. And that happens a lot, because many times women are arrested for things like that. But what I didn't know is that 36 hours in jail, even though it was the hardest time of my life, actually saved me from one of the darkest eras that I have ever lived in. And I can promise you that because of that, I will never be touched physically, emotionally, in a harmful way ever again, because I love myself too much. And that's why, if it means that I be alone, then go through that. And I don't believe that God has that for me. But if it means that, I would rather travel that road than try to fit myself into something that isn't working, that doesn't love me, just to say that I'm accepted by other people and that I'm worthy. Because I realize now that I was always worthy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And yes, you are. And thank you so much for sharing that and for being so open about it, because I can tell that it was probably like one of the darkest times in your life. And just a quick question about the whole situation, because we've talked about how the way we were raised, the way, how our parents, like, we came from broken homes. But I've met your parents, and they're in a loving, like, they've been together for how many years already?
53 years, yes.
53 years. So, like, your parents are still together. Like, they have a loving marriage, they have a beautiful relationship. And you start questioning, like, well, where did this come from? Like, where do you feel like you being in all these toxic relationships came from? Because it wasn't from your parents, because they're still together.
Yeah, I think for me, it came from my trauma. because ever, you know, like I lost my brother when I was 12 years old, and my brother was like my hero. Like he was, you know, like I have so many memories of him. A lot of the likings that I have is because him, like he was really into classic cars, and that's why I love cars, you know. So even though I was 12 years old when he passed away, it was like such a devastating experience. And I feel like this is also something that I talk about. Like when we go through traumas like that in our culture, in the Latino Hispanic culture, it's always like a thing that we don't talk about it. So there was no place, you know, even though I had my parents that were trying to get me into therapy, this was like 30 some years ago. There wasn't a whole lot of mental health resources. Like if you think about it now, there's not a whole lot, but back then there really wasn't. And I feel like my parents did the best job that they could to try to get me that help. But like when you experience childhood trauma, you have physical changes that actually happen. Like, and those are things that like I didn't realize until I started to grow and change. I never realized that I was different because of what I experienced until recently. And like, for me, it was just the fact that I carried all of this pain. There was nowhere to put it, right? Like there was nowhere to take that pain. There was nowhere to express that pain. So for me, I feel like I clung on to people. Like I'm trying to bring that relationship, that brotherhood that I lost, right? That part, that huge part of my life, in some kind of twisted way. I know it's not the same because that's a brother and like one is a relationship, but it was like that longing, that missing for what I had just lost, right? And I didn't even know what had happened. Like for me, it's like I lost my brother and next day I started 6th grade. So in a whole new town with all these new kids that didn't even know my family. So not only am I going through trauma, but now I'm at a whole new school with people bullying and picking on me. And I feel like I just really, I feel like I really just lost myself. Like I really never got the chance to heal. I never got to address my pain. And because of that, I tried to cover it with toxic relationships. And I
Yeah,
tried
so you
to,
just kept going, and you know, it just, you got older, and then you know now you're having relationships, and yeah, like that makes a lot of sense
It's kind
because
of like,
yeah,
sorry,
no, go ahead.
it's kind of like how you mentioned earlier that the reason why you jumped into this relationship is because your daughter was about to go be on her own, right? And it's like, well, here I am
yes,
again. It was he your only brother, or did you have other siblings?
he was my only brother. Yes,
Got it. So, to me, I'm like tying those two things together. Of like even though you
yes,
had your parents, right? They had each other. However, it was you
yes,
two and your brother, the closest person that you can relate to. And then
yes,
bring it forward to now with you and your daughter, again, the next closest person you can relate to and have a relationship with, and then that person being gone. And it's like, okay, well, I need to replace this with somebody
yes.
else that I can go ahead and feel like I can relate to and have a relationship with,
Yeah.
so that I'm not alone. So it's, yeah, it's one of those things where you don't realize it, you don't see it at the time, but then after going through certain stuff and
Yeah.
getting to the point of like literally getting pushed to the edge of like, what is going on here? Where is this coming from? Why am I here? Then that's when you kind
Totally.
of look back and see where all of this is coming from.
Yeah, no, and you know what? Like seriously, thank you so much for sharing that, bringing so much value to just individuals. You know, people in relationships, toxic relationships, people that you know they don't know yet that they're in one, because
Yes.
I feel like now they're gonna be like, oh wait, this is not healthy, and this is not where I need to be. Like this is not the type of relationship that I want. So, is there, before we end this, I mean, this time just goes by so quick with you.
I
But
know.
before we end, is there anything that you just want to add, that you want to tell, you know, the viewers, the listeners, that you feel like they need to hear?
I really feel like this message goes out to anyone that might think that they're in a toxic relationship. If you think you are, for me, one of the biggest helpers was the people that I had around me, like for example, for me, it was my parents who have been pillars of my love, have always loved me for years, right? Like if you have people who love you and you don't question that they love you, like I never questioned that my parents love me. And my parents could see things about me changing and things about my relationship that they would sometimes mention. And I didn't want to hear it. But if you have people around you that love you, that you know love you, that are telling you about the relationship that you're in, mentioning to you how they see that you've changed, and they're giving you warnings, then please listen to them, because they love you and they want the best for you. So I feel that that was so helpful for me. That was what brought me out of my darkness, when I saw that the people that I knew, I had no question about, had my back, were telling me, this is not the best situation for you, to trust them, because when you're in that situation, you are so cloudy. And I know you are, that you don't even know what to believe. So that was one of the things that I could say was a lighthouse for me in the darkness. And I just wanted to give that out there to anyone that might need that today.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for just taking the time, being here. Just your heart is so full of love that I can feel it through the screen. But
Thank you.
you want to end our show? Because
Yeah.
my throat is already like
Well, thank you, Allegra, for being on. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm sure people listening are going to be like, man, we need more. So good thing that you have your own show. So if anyone's interested in hearing more about Allegra, she's going to have her own show soon, right here in the Prospera TV Network. But we appreciate your time, and we will see you all in the next episode.
bye.
Thank you so much.
This is your Prospera era, where dreams align with grace, abundance flows like rivers. You've stepped into your place. Rise, reign, and remember, you were born to shine. Welcome to your moment, Prospera, it's time.
We hope you enjoyed today's show on Prospera TV Network. Make it a point to visit us on YouTube and catch all your favorite shows anytime you want. Interested in hosting a show of your own? Or advertising your business on our network? Contact Elena Rodriguez.